of light, come into me, show me what I need to see.
Welcome to the Small Victories Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline Victoria, an inspirational thought leader that offers transformational perspectives based on my unique experiences as a woman born without arms and legs. I feel like my life has been full of small victories that has led me to discover the greatness within. I believe that there is no summit upon which we reach our greatness. I believe it is a culmination of small victories achieved moment by moment when we turn toward the inward battle where we get to choose despair or hope, misery or miracles, defeat or victory. My goal is to awaken your potential, your purpose, and your power so that you can discover the greatness that lives within you. Think of this podcast as your weekly portion of tools, stories, and teachings that help you reflect on the small victories in your life. Thanks for tuning in, and let's begin. Welcome to another episode of the Small Victories Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline Victoria. What if the next scene of your life was entirely up to you, and you were both the writer and the lead actor? In today's episode, I'm joined by Pia Leichter, founder of the Kollektiv Studio and author of Welcome to the Creative Club. Pia shares a powerful message that you are the creative director of your own life. Through her journey of navigating grief, identity, and purpose, she discovered that creativity isn't just for the artist, it's a birthright and a tool to thrive in life. Whether you're feeling stuck, uninspired, or unsure of what comes next, this conversation will challenge you to consciously create your next scene, starting small, thinking big, and showing up for yourself like never before. Pia, welcome to the show.
Oh, Pauline, thank you so much for having me. And what a wonderful introduction. I got pumped listening to you.
I've done that before too. Someone introduces me and I'm like, oh, I want to know this person. Who is this person they're talking about? Oh gosh, but good. It's all true. There's nothing that I said that wasn't true. And I am excited to jump into this conversation because there's so many of us in this world that feel like we're at the effect of life and circumstances. And I'm not going to put on my rose-colored glasses and everything's just like roses and rainbows. There are things that happen that we don't have control over, but we are still the creative director of our life, even through those times. So I'm excited to jump into that conversation, just unpack it all, and let's see where we can bring value to you, the listener, as we move through this conversation. So Pia, tell us a little bit about what got you started on this journey to help encourage other people to explore their creative side.
Ooh. Well, it actually started with me rediscovering and redefining what creativity means. Because when I was growing up, my dad is an abstract artist. He's a painter. And I grew up in a world of color and form and, would be writing stories about princesses that didn't need a kiss by a prince to wake up while he was painting in front of a canvas with Stevie Wonder's Song of Life playing on the record player. And it really felt like creativity was just a part of life. Like it didn't feel like a gift or special because it was just sort of what we did. And that was great. I realized as I grew up, that was quite a gift. But at the time, it just felt like this is natural. But creativity was always something that we did. That's what you do. Like you make something, right? Like you're creating something. And that continued into my commercial career, working as a creative director and copywriter at many different creative agencies where, I applied creativity. It's something I did to solve tough commercial challenges to build brands and businesses. Again, I did it in a little safer environment because I also witnessed the roller coaster ride of being an artist in New York City in the 90s and onward from the kind of life that my dad lived and some of the tough choices he had to make. And so I was like, I'm going to go what I thought would be the safer route, commercial creativity, but still it was something that I did. And it took me kind of face planting in life to really realize what creativity really means. And and to redefine that for myself. So I went through a really challenging divorce. This is at least a decade ago, but I went through a very challenging divorce. I threw myself into a job where I was one of 3 creative partners building a studio. I jumped into an unhealthy rebound relationship. I was kind of flailing. I felt very much like life was happening to me. I wasn't sure what my path was. It felt like what the traditional path was starting to crumble because of divorce and whatnot. And so I just threw myself into the thing that society values very much, which is productivity. Like, look at me, I'm okay. I'm making stuff. I'm productive. But I was feeling very lost at the time and moving very fast to avoid the pain, to avoid actually sitting with what was going on. And it took me getting fired from that job and life just getting sick, the universe or life, whatever you call it, getting sick of tired of watching my reruns, the same story kind of playing out over and over again. And it made me take a hard stop and look at my life, which felt like someone had played 52 card pickup with, like everything felt wrong and everything was on the floor. And I actually didn't know where to begin or what to do, how to get out of like, what am I doing next? And there was a voice within, actually, it was more of a felt sense. I know it's my intuition now, but at the time I probably wouldn't have called it that. But it was a felt sense of like, girl, you need to do something different. Like, you need to change this up. You need to do something very different. And that very different thing turned out to be a trip on the Trans-Siberian Express. It was a bucket list desire. I felt like I need to change the scenery. Something needs to give. And so I went alone on a trip for 4 weeks across China, Mongolia, and Russia. And it was on that train trip that I got some very important reminders that I needed to hear. One was that, of course, I was going to be okay alone. I've been on my own since I was 17. Somehow I had forgotten that and felt scared of being alone for whatever reason. And, I also grew up in New York City in the 90s and 80s, and it was a very different time. Like I know how to take care of myself generally. And it was a beautiful reminder being across like in all these different interesting scenarios and meeting all these fantastic people and knowing that of course I'm okay by myself. Not only am I okay, but it was really good. Like I was having a blast in my own company and it felt good. It was like a homecoming. The second reminder was that the world is big and full of surprises and adventure. And that can be really easy to forget when we kind of get stuck. When I got stuck in kind of a cycle or a loop and the walls felt like they were closing in, I just forgot how wonderful and wild and weird this world is. And doing the Trans-Siberian Express really reminded me of that. And that was really important to see things like that again. And then the third part has to do with creativity and it was less a reminder and more of an epiphany. I remember while I was sitting on that train, hurtling through Siberia, looking at trees passing really quickly to my right, smelling sauerkraut and body odor and in the car and looking in front of me and seeing a Russian guy in a wife beater hugging a bottle of vodka and punching the steel car door for some reason. And like just sitting back and looking at the scene, looking at it all, I had the thought or the download of like, hey, wait a minute. I created this. I brought myself here. I created this entire scene. We're talking like location, costume design, soundtrack, scents, script, everything. I'm not only the creative director at work, I'm creatively directing my life. Creativity isn't just something that you do. It's a way of being in the world.
Yeah.
And it was really in that moment that my own train in life, metaphorically, started to change tracks. Something had started to shift with that insight and with that realization. I was like, oh yeah, creativity is much bigger than just making or producing or doing. It's actually a way of being. It's the way I see the world, the stories I believe, the reality that I create, the experiences that I make for myself, the way of moving with life.
So I love that last part, moving with life.
Mhm.
Would you say it's a co-creative experience?
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you said something interesting when in the intro that, yeah, we're not going to paint it as roses and rainbows. This tough shit also happens to us. But I would say there's one thing that we are always in control of, and that is how we choose to respond.
Mhm.
We are always in creative response with life. Life throws us a curveball. We get to choose how we want to creatively respond. We get presented with experiences and situations, and we get to choose how to respond. We also get to choose how we want to see those things. My
Mm.
dear friend Paul had a beautiful reframe. I love it so much. He's like, I don't know, I was going through something heavy and it was like, oh God, this is so challenging and this feels like I don't know. And he said, oh, it's just an FGO. I said, what's an FGO? He said, it's a fucking growth opportunity. That stayed with me and it shifted something in me. So whenever there's something tough that I'm facing or feels challenging, I'm like, oh,
Mm.
it's an FGO. It's here to help me grow. But there's something I get to learn from this. There's like an insight. There's something here for me in it. How do I want to respond to it? How do I want to be with it? Want to get stressed out? Probably not. Do I want to get curious? Yeah. Like we get to choose. And that's also a creative act.
It's so beautiful and so deep because I always felt like creativity was pressure. Like I am not an artist. I went to a friend's birthday party and it was a paint and sip. And it was just like, follow what the instructor tells you to do. Make a line. Okay. But it's so much pressure to feel like, oh, I gotta make sure it looks perfect and everything is in the right proportion and the right colors. And to create something as a doing, to produce something, it feels like a lot of pressure. This redefining of creativity, of it's a part of our being, is such a beautiful, empowering reframe.
Thank you for sharing that. And in your story, here's what came up for me as I was listening to you. It's like, what if you allowed yourself to create whatever you felt like creating? Because I think the pressure comes from an idea of what it should be. Like, oh, it needs to look like this. And it's like, actually, the real creative juice is when you get curious about how you want to make it. Do you want to just create a bunch of dots? You could do anything. And then getting curious and just allowing that element of experimentation and play to come through.
Yeah.
I think that this idea that it needs to be a certain way, that kind of judgment or specific outcome attachment is what gets our creativity stuck. And I think curiosity is and play is the antidote. It doesn't have to look like anything. I just have some paint in front of me. I can do whatever I want. I can just have fun with it. It doesn't have to be good, bad, not ugly. It doesn't have to be anything. I just get to play and enjoy making something.
Yeah. And we can apply that to our life. We can
Oh yeah,
enjoy the creative process of making our life.
definitely. Because life is 99% process.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I remember reading there's an author and he writes about fungi, like in mycelium and like how they connect. And there's a quote from him. I can't recall his name. I can share it afterwards. And he says, all life forms are processes.
Mm.
And he's looking at it from sort of a biologist nature point of view, where we are constantly growing and changing,
Mhm.
just like nature, right? We're always in process. When we stop processing, what happens, right?
Yeah.
It's like we're constantly changing.
Yeah.
Our bodies change. There's I think some of this research has been debunked in terms of the amount of years, but our bodies, our cells are constantly rearranging. We are growing older. We get to be like Madonna and reinvent ourselves many times over. That's our choice. And that's part of what being human is like to be a part of nature and to be in process and to grow. And that's why getting curious about what we want to create or what we desire or who we want to be next is such an important part of the continual process. It's not like a one-time deal because we get to meet ourselves again and again and again. And I think that's, oh man, inspiring. Like, what would life be if we remain the same, you
Yeah.
know? But yet
Yeah.
we get stuck on this idea that we should. It's strange.
Yeah. So when you said Madonna, I mean, I grew up with Madonna. Like I was
Me
an
too.
80s girl, and it was Material Girl to Vogue to, like
Yeah.
all the iterations of Madonna. And it made me think how courageous and bold she was to redefine her brand on a regular basis. It was
Love it.
almost like her audience craved her change because we're like, "Ooh, what is she going to do next?" And I feel like a lot of us get stuck in wanting to stay the same and play the same roles because other people won't know how to react to it. And I noticed when I moved away from California to Hawaii, I shifted and I had to go back and I had to redefine my relationships a little bit based on who I became versus who I was. What would you say to somebody who is feeling like, I want to rebrand, I want to reinvent myself, I want to create a new iteration, but I'm scared of what that would look like for other people and for the relationships that I cherish so much?
Ooh, what would I say to those people? Sometimes we need an extinction moment for our next creative evolution.
Mm,
And those can be painful, to let go of maybe something we're very successful at one point, but doesn't fulfill us anymore. Or maybe to let go of relationships that used to be so fulfilling, but don't really meet the next version of ourselves in the same way. And that's also a part of life, that grief of change. But there's also something else on the other side waiting for us. And it's freedom and it's uncertainty and it's growth. And in many ways, growth is fulfilling even when it's challenging.
mhm.
I would ask also, what's the price of staying where you are? What does it cost you? Because oftentimes it's fear of change. What if I change? If I move with this new change, then what will people think? What will I lose? What will you gain?
Yeah.
And what happens if you don't change? Where are you in 3 years from now if you don't make those moves or you don't grow into that next version or you don't take those risks creatively? Where are you? And are you satisfied with that place? And if the answer is yes, then you're on the right path. And if the honest answer is no, then maybe it's time for that extinction moment so the rebirth, the creative renaissance can happen. And there's a lot of excitement and it's frightening and it's thrilling. And I think it's part of what makes us human. We have this desire to grow and to expand. I mean, we are part of the universe and the universe is constantly expanding. We are part of nature. I think it's within us. It's part of who we are. And that change is also a very creative process. It's transformative.
Yeah. And I said earlier, redefining creativity from a place of being is very empowering.
Mhm.
And so if someone is feeling that, like I know I have a lot of friends and we're all in that midlife area of our life. And it's like, okay, well, the kids are out. What do I want to do next? What does my life look like? But it can feel so overwhelming. So if we were to start small and to create from, because just saying, all right, sorry, peace out, I'm going on this train ride. And that might not be feel so good or realistic, or whatever fears come up. Anytime we're on a precipice of growth, fears come up because there's a lot of uncertainty. When you
Mhm.
ask the question, what would you gain? Some people be like, I don't know. Maybe I would lose more than I would gain. I don't know. But it's the curiosity that we take into the uncertainty and leaving the shoulds behind, right? Maybe it doesn't look like gaining in the sense of what we think is gain, right? Like producing, gaining, like material things. It could be something more.
Oh, that's what I mean when I say gain. It's like, to
Yeah.
me, I think of like freedom, I think of fulfillment, I think of like, woo, what might this be? And curiosity and feeling, actually, it's feeling alive.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that feeling alive. And feeling alive is also connected to uncertainty. It's when you're in a place and you don't know what's going to happen next. I mean, the truth is we never know what's going to happen next, but we create structures that make us feel like.
Yeah. I know.
But it's like embracing that, okay, uncertainty is the realm of knee knocking angst. Yes. And also infinite possibility. I
Mhm.
mean, anything is possible when you don't know. Everything is possible. You don't know. Anything can happen. And that can be frightening, but then how do we want to be with that fear? I'm like, yeah, I hear you, this feels a little scary. It's because, as you mentioned, Pauline, you're on the precipice of change, and then fear gets real loud. Or the parts of you that know it might have to die get real loud. It's like the death rattle, like, what are you doing? Come back. And just having that awareness of like, oh, when I'm on the precipice of change, this voice gets loud. And then how do I want to be with that fear when it shows up in
Mhm.
order to kind of move with it? So it doesn't stop me. It's like, all right, thanks for trying to protect me. We got this. We're going to do this. And
Mhm.
you get in the back seat. I'm driving. Like, don't fiddle with the radio dials. Like, you want to come along for the ride, fear. Get in the back seat. And we're doing this. And so it's like, how do you want to talk to yourself? How do you want to be with yourself? No matter what it is, it doesn't have to be the Trans-Siberian. So anyway, I just felt like calling attention to that. But I want to
Yeah.
answer your question, which is what would I recommend for someone who is in that midlife point, right? When you're like, something needs to give, but I don't know what it is. I'm ready for something more.
Yeah.
I would say you could start with just getting curious about what next scene you'd like to creatively direct in your life. And for me, like that can look like I want to put on my Guns N' Roses t-shirt with some holes that I'd love to wear, and my red lipstick, and Doshi on the speaker, or Billie Eilish, and have a cold sour cherry kombucha and just dance in my kitchen. Like
Mhm.
that would bring me joy. That's a scene I want to create. That's a scene I want to live in. It's in the micro, but there's a lot of data or insight around what brings you joy or what gives you pleasure, right? Or like what you like to do, what makes you feel alive. For me, that can look like dancing and drinking kombucha, just like being conscious that I'm creating that moment, right? And so it can be something in the micro, in the small, and because the small scenes create the big movie. And the act is incredibly empowering because you're embodying it. You are creating evidence for yourself that you are the creative director of your life. Look, you just created this scene. And that could be being in the garden, the sunlight coming in, having a nice cup of jasmine tea, listening to whatever you like, wearing your favorite overalls, and like just grooving with life in that minute. It can look like whatever you want it to look like. And it's just that embodiment of, hell yeah, I'm creatively directing this thing. And then getting curious about what's the next scene. Maybe what's next, I
Mhm.
think is a wonderful place to start because there's a lot of joy in it too.
Yeah. It's kind of like the montages in movies,
Yeah,
and it's just like quick little scenes put to music, and like
exactly.
they're either trying on new clothes or they're having a party or whatever it is. And yeah, I really appreciate that correlation, because I feel like, yeah, just create some mini scenes for a great montage of your life. for now. And then maybe that will lead. I love how you said that it will open up data points, or it will reveal those data points of what brings you joy. And it was interesting. I interviewed somebody and he said that we have a molecule, and there's a molecule in every human called anandamide, and it's called the bliss molecule. And so I actually did some research because people could tell me stuff and I could be like, oh, okay. But I like to research to make sure that this is truth. And so I did. And it is called the bliss molecule. So our natural state is joy. You get caught up in the conditioning, we get caught up in the other expectations that people think we should meet, or the roles we should play, and the shoulds and all of that stuff that adds structure to our life, and like you said, brings the illusion of control to our life. But there's something that feels missing. And I appreciate when you just circling back to the reminder that trip made, is that you're going to be okay. Like you've taken care of yourself in the past. And I look back on things that I did when I was young and I'm like, oh gosh, I was either really bold or really stupid. What was that about? But making those bold moves, oh my gosh, they were one of the most amazing things I could have done, because it opened up the next the next iteration of me, the next opportunity, what have you. So I'm just soaking up the juiciness of this conversation.
Yeah, me too. And I love what you're saying, because what you're pointing to is really a powerful action, what I call like field work or activity, right? Is if you're in doubt about your creative power or your courage,
Mm-hmm.
look back on your life. Like sit down with a pen and paper and a nice cup of whatever you love to drink and look back on your life and think about when were times where that you faced big FGOs, big challenges, and how you overcame them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to see that the evidence for your creative badassery is right there.
Yeah.
We just forget sometimes. We can lose touch with our own creative power. And that to me is what I'm referring to, is like our capability to creatively respond to challenges and to things that are presented to us and find new ways. And so I just love what you're pointing to, because it's a very powerful exercise if we're feeling disconnected. It's like, wait a minute, look back on the moments in your life where you did make those big, bold moves, or you did respond in a certain way that got you not only through, it's not only survive, but helped you thrive, because they're there. We just tend to forget.
Yeah. And oftentimes the best choices I made were illogical. Like, this makes no sense. This is not
Yeah.
safe. But I felt intuitively, but this is what I'm
Yes.
supposed to do. And we lose that intuitive whisper. Like, it's still there. We don't lose it. Actually, I take that back. We don't lose that intuitive whisper. We just push it down or ignore it, or we hear it and we are like, no, thanks. That feels unsafe. But we've done it in the past. And if you look back on your past, those are probably one of the most exhilarating decisions you've ever made.
Absolutely. And it's like whatever we feed gets stronger, right? So if we feed fear, the voice that comes up of like, oh, you can't do that, you should stay here, it's going to get stronger. And if we don't listen to our intuition, it's going to have malnutrition. It's going to get weaker. So it's not
Yeah.
that it's not, as you said, it's not that it's not there. It's just gotten quieter and quieter because we're not giving it any airtime, which
Mm,
also means that we can start to pay attention and listen. And the more that we listen, the stronger it gets.
mm,
I've definitely experienced that since launching Kollektiv Studio, and which was a huge leap for me in January 2022. It's like really just sitting and listening and learning to distinguish the cadence and the tone of different voices within me, like this inner saboteur who's trying to keep me safe, right? Usually we all have inner saboteurs that we developed in childhood as a response to perceived or actual threats that helped keep us safe. And they worked for a while. But as adults, they often not working anymore, right? They've
yeah.
outgrown their usefulness, but they hang around and they actually start getting in the way of us moving in the direction of what really matters. So it's not to demonize it because it's there to, it was trying to be helpful. And it was at one point, but it's become harmful. So to learn to recognize when that voice is in the room. And is it you? Is it the voice of your fifth grade teacher? Is it the nasal voice of your great grandmother? Like, who is it? Like, or is it just it's just a part of you? And then learning to distinguish the sound of intuition. Like for me, my intuition is not wordy. It's a felt sense. Often I can feel it as like full body chills in my body. Sometimes when a client is speaking, like I'll feel it and I'll just say, hey, I'm just going to share, do what you want with it. But I just got chills when you said that. I don't know, is there something that came up for you? And I can feel that within myself. And it's also can be like a voice, but it doesn't say a lot of words. It's like, dunk, dunk. If I have to ask a question, it's quick, it comes right away. And it says like 3 words. And it's like, boom, and very confident, like, and this other voice, very anxious, talks a lot. Like fast, and it's very helpful to distinguish so we know who's in the room and we know who's trying to take the lead. And then we get to choose. Say no, thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah, you don't have the talking stick right now. Anxiety.
No.
Yeah.
No. And you're not driving either. And then again asking and then getting curious. Curiosity is the antithesis to judgment. Right. So if that anxiety comes up and being like, oh, interesting, that emotion is here. What's making me anxious? Let me think about that for a minute. Like, what's going on here? Really? Oh, it's a deadline. What happens if I don't make the deadline? Well, then, okay, no, but what really? Let's pull up the lid. What's really underneath that? Emotions are data. They give us information about ourselves. If we can get curious and observe them when they show up and let them pass through. They're just coming for a minute. Let them come on in, have a cup of tea, and then see them out when they're ready to move.
Yeah. I don't normally promote people's email lists, but I did subscribe to Pia's email list. And she calls it Field Notes. And they're so deep and like get to the soul of whatever topic she's talking about in that particular week. So I'm just going to encourage you all. We'll have in the show notes the link to her website where you can subscribe to her Field Notes. I love them. I subscribe to a lot of people's email lists too, but I don't usually read all of them, but I do love yours. So for those of you who are listening or watching, please go and get her Field Notes, subscribe. They'll just give you some insights along your journey, this creative journey that you're living into and you're co-creating with life. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say thank you.
Yeah.
That's really wonderful to hear. Yeah, it's just wonderful to hear. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You wrote a book, Welcome to the Creative Club. Just tell us about it real quick, and we will link that in the show notes as well. But would you like to say a few words about that?
Sure. I wrote Welcome to the Creative Club to smash the myth that creativity is reserved for the chosen few and invite everyone to access and apply their creativity to the design of their lives. Beautiful. And yeah, all the ways that we can get in the way of I share stories of how I lost and found my creative power, like the Trans-Siberian, and that because I really wanted it. I'm at eye level. I'm not trying to be an expert or a guru, or I'm just one woman who lived a terrifying and beautiful, full fat, full flavor life, who's learning and stumbling and experiencing alongside with you. And here are some of the stories of what that looked like for me, as well as neuroscience and some interviews with like Betsy Johnson, who's an iconic fashion designer and who was also a part of my life growing up. And yeah, different doorways in back home to your creativity and your creative power, and a bigger view on what creativity is. Because what stops us from being creative is the belief that I'm not creative, right? Like, oh, I can't even draw a stick figure. And it's like, wait a minute. Creativity is not solely relegated to the world of arts, to artistic expression. Creativity lives in virtually every single domain. Creativity is what makes us human. It's what enabled our survival as a species. It's how our brains function, with the default mode network correlated with creativity, what happens when we're daydreaming and eureka moments. I mean, it's a part of who we are. So the first step really is to smash that myth, debunk it, get it off the shelf in order for us to really be embrace and accept like, hell yeah, I'm creative. Look what I'm going to create next. So that's really the spirit of the book.
I love it. It's an expansion of this conversation and more. So if this has perked your curiosity and you're wanting to see what would your life look like if you took creative ownership of your life, get the book. You don't have to be alone in this journey. And I know you do coaching. Is that correct, Pia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Tailor-made creative journeys depending on where people are and what it is that they're looking to create next.
Yeah. Yes. Like I said, you're not alone in this journey. I'm not going to say it can't be scary, but that's part of the journey. That is part of the process, is to move through that fear. And if you have someone that's holding your hand along the way, oftentimes you can move through that fear much quicker. And so you can stay on the trajectory you're choosing to stay on, not the one that was chosen for you. Are there
Ooh,
any,
amen.
yeah. Are there any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Final thoughts. Well, I guess it's really just a question like, what scene are you creatively directing next? And then I would love if your listeners I don't know, sent you a message. I don't know how people get in touch with you, but like, I would love, imagine how fun it would be to hear everyone's creative scenes, like the different scenes. It would be so inspiring. So if there's a way for people to do that, I would love to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. Put in the comments if you
Yeah,
feel,
comments.
put in the comments what scene are you creatively directing next in your life? Let us know in the comments. Sometimes we put it in writing and it's
Yeah.
out there for other people to read. It makes it a little bit more real. And you feel like, okay, that could be the first step. And
And
yeah,
sorry to interrupt you, and it makes us feel less alone in it.
yeah.
It's really, it's like, oh, and we get inspired by each other. Like, oh,
Yeah. I was
she's
going to
doing
say that.
that. That's a great idea. I want to do that. And we get to show each other that it gets to be fun and it can be bold and it can be playful. It can be whatever we want it to be.
Yeah. Yes. All right, put in the comments. Let's inspire one another, inspire ourselves to take
Yes.
creative, I don't know, there's a word I'm looking for.
Risks?
Creative risks. Yes. And be bold. Uh,
Yeah.
so Pia, thank you so much for being on the show, for sharing your heart and helping other people take the bold steps they can take if they choose.
Thank you so much for being an inspiration and for showing up so openly and so fully the way you do. I just love this podcast and I'm so appreciative of what you're putting into the world and how you're a part of shaping it. And so thank you for having me here. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that filled my heart. It made me feel like I'm on the right track. But to the listener, I want to remind you that you don't have to wait for a life-altering moment to realize your creative power. You can direct your next scene starting now with a single choice, a small step, a shift in perspective. Pia's reminder that you're all the roles, the director, the actor, the writer, it is your invitation to step out of the background and into the spotlight of your own life. So, whether you're rebuilding after a loss, pivoting in your purpose, or simply ready for something more, you have the power to create beauty, meaning, and impact. Because living victoriously starts with choosing to create on purpose and from the heart. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Small Victories Podcast. And until we meet again, be blessed.
Angel of light, come into me. Show me what I need to see. You are my pathway into the night. Lead me from shadows to light. You smile on my small victories. small victories. All of my life, I always knew you were the one I relied on. When every dream failed, when the worries prevailed, in your hands my spirits rose up. Show me what I need to see.